My name is Nick, and welcome to my channel where I like to talk about scary stuff. The Quiet Room is a short film about Michael, a young gay man who winds up in a mental hospital after attempting to take his own life. Once there, he finds himself haunted by not only his past, but supernatural occurrences. Welcome back for another Shudder Day review, folks. On Saturdays, I'm looking at my favorite streaming service, Shudder, to find solid horror movie recommendations for you guys. And to celebrate the month of Pride, I am going through their queer horror collection to review some of my favorites. I was recently asked to point out more hidden gems, and The Quiet Room is a hidden gem if I've ever seen one. Again, it's a short film, it's only about 28 minutes long, but I really enjoyed it, so I'm going to keep this review spoiler free to try to encourage all of you to head over to Shudder and watch it right now. I mean, after this video, of course, duh. Jamal Douglas plays Michael and gives such a simple but honest performance that his character is very easy to follow throughout. I mean, obviously it doesn't take very long for us to peel back the layers of his story, but through him we explore very serious and very interesting themes that shouldn't be relatable only to gay men, but I think are relatable universally. His entire storyline and arc plays into this juxtaposition between opening yourself up to others and loving yourself, allowing them to love you, with completely trying to destroy yourself. And for a short film, I think it handles these ideas in a way that is far from preachy. I'd like to see a lot more of this in film in general, but especially in horror films. Also, Lisa Wilcox shows up, fucking Alice from A Nightmare on Elm Street 4 and 5. She plays a nurse who befriends Michael and helps him out. Overall, most of the acting does feel indie film quality, but still, everyone's putting in the energy and there's enough chemistry between them to keep me invested. Like I said, I don't want to spoil anything, but I will say that I know psychological horror isn't for everyone, and I'm sure we've all seen plenty of mental hospital horror movies that go nowhere and aren't very satisfying. But I will say with The Quiet Room, it blends psychological and supernatural horror in a way that leads to a very satisfying conclusion. I do have to admit my problems with it, and I think writer-director Sam Wineman made a fantastic short that hit all the sweet spots I could hope for. He nailed the emotional aspects that make the film work, but there was one scene in particular that required more tension that just wasn't there, and unfortunately it took me out of the entire viewing experience, which was a bummer because the rest of the movie is A+ material in my book. But I do have to point out why I think he might be my next favorite, and why I cannot wait for his next project. Clearly I'm overcompensating for last week's mistake because I did do my research this time, but come on, his IMDb photo is him in a Nightmare on Elm Street shirt with a Freddy glove. Like, hello, would you like to get married? Secondly, I knew Shudder was working on a queer horror documentary a la horror noir, but for the LGBTQ+ community, and turns out Sam Wineman is doing it, and I am so excited. I hope it's like The Gay in Search of Darkness. But whatever it is, I'm just really looking forward to that documentary. When is that gonna happen? Whenever it comes out, it's getting the Shudder Day spotlight, that's for sure. Thirdly, I discovered this interview Rue Morgue did with him where he was asked about his influences, and he said that slashers were one of his biggest because they managed to tackle social issues in a way that isn't detected. And I'm like, yes, I love that. No one talks about that. No one wants to give slasher films credit, but that's exactly why I gravitate towards them. Also, we happen to have the same favorite horror film in Black Christmas 1974, but honestly, that should be everyone's favorite horror film. And his list of underrated movies, Sam, let's be best friends. As for my personal grade, I'm gonna give The Quiet Room a 3.5 out of 5. It has its rough moments, but it's mostly an authentic story full of horror and heart. If you haven't already seen The Quiet Room, I suggest you give it your 28 minutes because there are some really interesting horror elements that I'd like to talk about in the comments. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, especially if you made it all the way to the end. You're the best. I hope you all have a great rest of your day. You can follow me on Instagram and Letterboxd for more movie recommendations. That's it for this video, but I won't stop you from watching another.